Hi everyone. Just starting a little bit early. Well, not really early, but just a little bit early. I'm going to have my hat on today because my hair is a bit of a mess. All right, so I'll get my old hat on today. Won't please David Gravity, but can India post a massive target for England? Let's hope not, John. 600 plus would be quite an effort if that's the case. With run rate 4.48, England paid price by not scoring 500. Well, match will end today with England win or end on Sunday with India win, period. I'm going for later. Beautiful drawing, says Rudy, and he's tremendous, isn't he? Hello, Norman. Nice hair today. Well, nice. Well, let me just try to see if I can get myself sorted with my hair. A bit of a mess, but hat or no hat, guys? What do you reckon? I reckon no hat. No, I reckon a hat. All right. So, what are we up for today, guys? Hello, sir. How are you today? Beautiful drawings. Are you pommy? Well, why is beautiful drawings a pommy? A bit of drink. It's not alcoholic, by the way. Hat and mask look better. Hat and mask. You reckon the mask as well? Are you trying to suggest something? I'll put a mask on if you want to. That's what my mask would look like. So I can talk for the rest of the night like that if you want me to. There's no way I'm going to do that. Caps on again. Yes, well, it's only because my hair is a mess. If I get my combs out, I can get my combs out. I can have a bit of a brush of my hair if you want. I'm a two-comb man, so if I'm going to just certainly could warrant. Oh God, I can't do this. All right, is that better? I can put the hat on. Here, we've got some new, well, I wouldn't say new books, but I've got some books there that the 11 Gods and a Billion Indians. We've got the Hooks, remembering David Hooks, and obviously Dewey Maxwell, who was on yesterday. His book is called, it's hard to imagine someone in Australia without Dewey Maxwell. It's the Sounds of Summer, a memoir. Worth getting, guys. He was on yesterday. For those of you who didn't know, the third hour. What I think India can say this test match. Look, India can do a lot today. First of all, we got to get the 2 wickets of the Englishmen out first, but they can, bat today, day 3, and bat most of day 4, and put England into a situation they may have to get 100 or so runs and make a game of it. But I don't think they're going to win. But that would be an impressive way to handle this match. They can show. That's my Diet Coke. Okay, so you would hope that India can relax and bat without pressure because they're not expected to win this game now. Bat without pressure on a good batting track and be able to then go about, scoring 300-400. They've got to first of all knock off 345 at this stage. It could well be more if the tail of England continues to wag. Have I got Coke as a sponsor? If Coke wants to sponsor me, there you go. I will do that. Maybe Coke will take me up. Cannot change. Unlikely. Cannot change captain again because he'd won a test set. I don't think anyone's going to be effectively. I don't think anyone's going to be effectively dropped from their captaincy, especially Cole. I don't think he's been dropped. Forget about it. When I see Coca-Cola, I remember Ronaldo. Okay. Where are you from? Ashraful Islam. Well, they like Ashraful, you're from Bangladesh. Well, I'm actually from Coogee Beach in Sydney, Australia. Here covering cricket, as you know, I was Ashraful Islam. If you're new, that's great to see you. Tim Wilton Davies says, surely Ashwin has to come into the team now. Yeah, he was always earmarked to come in for the oval test anyway, so that'll happen. Yes. My diet is Coke and cookies. Well, it's not a diet, is it? Then it's Coke and cookies. England going to win the test. You'd have to think so. Will England win by an innings? That's the question. Let's hope India can make them bat again. Nice here, first of all. Thank you. If India make 455 and India can still win, yes, they still can win. Yes, they can. Absolutely. Because England only got 120 in the last innings in the next match. So, but that would mean at this very moment in time, India have to go at least 465. I don't know. The likelihood is it's going to be a draw. Let's be honest. Sorry, a window in England, yes. Now, Ashwin, yeah, playing bowling left-hand batter, you think that would be an advantage? It certainly will be. Given the opportunity, it will be a certain appreciation. So today we're expecting, I'm getting a lot of people in the post-show, but not that many on the pre-show. Debash Sen was meant to be with me today. Debash Sen from Extra Time had promised me that he would come on. Let me just find out where he is. I'm just going to... Debash just did promise that he would come on. I'm messaging him now, so let's see. You read a lot of books. Yeah, I've got a truckload of books. I've got a lot of memorabilia. In fact, I've got some amazing memorabilia from Viv Richards personally, from Andy Roberts, from the Bradman stuff. I've got Mark Taylor's getting his 330, I think it was. They need to just knock it out. Occupy the crease. They've got possibly 3 days of batting time to bat at as high, so they should just bat and bat long. This is the perfect situation for a Pujara to just block and get ones and twos and stuff around. But even the way that Rohit Sharma, Rahul and Pujara can certainly bat long and then allow Kohli and Rahane to pick up from there. Why are you judging people? Who's judging people? Manas, I read. Beg your pardon. I beg your pardon. I do read. Yeah, I think probably John actually supported me there too. All right, guys. So what are we looking at today? We're looking at about another. I think it's about another hour, a bit over an hour, I should say, before play starts, and we're going to have a situation where India are going to have to bat long. Well, first of all, they have to get 2 wickets. The score at the moment is 8 down, so they've still got a fair way to go. They've got, when I say fair, I mean the batters that are in, I think, let me have a look, is in at the moment. We've got 8 for 423. That's you have to admit that it's very possible that we might see that score might be possible. Let's have a look here. Root Sublime home. Okay. The headlines, what the headlines were, the report today was Root's sublime home ton studs England's domination. Malan Hamid chipping with half centuries, England build a gigantic lead. And that's pretty much true. It is quite a pertinent point where we're going to take note of that. That's pretty much what the story is, isn't it? It is a situation where they have a gigantic lead, and 345 in anyone's language is a gigantic lead. Would you agree? Butler was very effective in red ball cricket. Yeah, I don't know whether you can say that. I don't. What are you basing that on? I think he's a bit distracted at the moment, the old Butler, with his family. I think he's about to have a child. There's a lot of positives there about that. So, I think that's certainly going to be his distraction for now. And you've got to respect him for that. He sees family as important, which I think is always a good thing. Let's have a look here. I'm just trying to. So yeah, the way that they described that match, Root's sublime home ton. So they're acknowledging it was his home ton. So it's not working. Let's see. Trying to do a little bit of a cheeky little paste here. Let me do it last time. I know why it's not doing. because that's not Wi-Fi's on. When Wi-Fi's on, all things happen, don't they? In fact, I've got to make sure the Wi-Fi's on here too, guys. Give me a sec, guys. I'm just going to check my Wi-Fi. So I'll make sure that Wi-Fi is running. No, it's not. Otherwise, we will have problems. It's become a problem, doesn't it? You got to make sure your Wi-Fi's on, because when the actual connection Wi-Fi is your so-called backup, and that's what I'm trying to look at here. No, it's not coming. All right, so India has already lost it. No chance for any to come back. Okay, I agree. Tim and Prabhashan agree, and I'm probably being a little bit overly positive, I must say. But you got to think that way when you're playing cricket. You just can't just shut up shop and think that's it. You got to actually. They want Siddharth Monga is a great a great cricket third guy. I know him pretty well. He's saying that that India need to be able to not repeat themselves and actually get through this. And I agree. I think there's a lot to be said about that. I think there's a very strong relationship to saving face. Now, we shouldn't just be damning of India at the moment. We should give them a chance, because if they can get their act together and they can look, this is where we've been talking about this time and time again. But the Pujaras of the world, Kohlis and Mahanis, have got their time in the sun now. They're behind the 8 ball. They've got to be able to prove themselves. They've got plenty of time to bat on good batting conditions, as we've seen. So many England batsmen have done very well. You'd have to think that this is their time. By no means am I saying they're going to win. Kunal Sharma was asking the so-called series prediction. I still think that India can win this. I don't think it's a fait accompli that they're going to now lose the series based on this. I don't think it's as straightforward as that. I think that, I said 3-2 from the beginning. I've said 3-1 after last time's performance. It could well be 1 all. That means it'll still be a result. It could even be 2 all. That could be my prediction, guys. That's my updated prediction. I said 3-1. Now I'm saying 2 all, based on what we're seeing here now. So, look, in all fairness, that's a fair whack of the change. I know, but I'm just curious, because I'm just looking at the article that the Home. Steve Harmison, for example, said India's quick should have allowed the ball to swing, and that's true. There was virtually no movement whatsoever in the situation, and I don't quite know what happened there, because and they're talking about Root takes the plaudits. Hamid's beginning to reap what he sowed. That's true. There's a lot of superlative going on. There's there's a lot to be said positively. So with Craig Overton's on 24 now. Ollie Robinson's on 0. They've got one bat to follow, and that's who was number 11? It's James Anderson. So they're 8 down. They've got 2 players that are quite capable there still, so they might hang around a little bit. But India need to have played better in terms of their bowling. Their bowling was just not good enough. Ishant Sharma was particularly disappointing yesterday. I thought his performance was particularly disappointing. He could easily have had a fuller, more well-directed delivery. He bowled far too short, far too wide, far too irregular. Quite often on leg stump, or more so wide outside off stump. It was bread and butter for Milan and certainly Root. So yeah, that was a concern. I don't think England will change the side. Well, that's what we said about India, didn't we? So I don't think so. That probably whether Mark Wood's fit next time, I don't know. Let's hope. Nihar Trivedi keeps saying this, not only him but others. It would be nice to see Kohli score a century. I don't think that it's impossible, guys. The wicket's a lot better. The conditions a lot better. It's up to Rohit Sharma and KL Rahul to bat long and have a massive 100-run stand, plus to put the situation in good stead for Pujara, Kohli and Rahane. That's where the key is. It's going to be Sharma and Rahul that are going to be the determining factors in this innings today. With 8 down, they're 8 for 423 after India scored 78. What a chalk and cheese performance that is. And in England did it in a relatively brisk fashion. The last 10 overs went for 40, with we've got 1 wicket falling, and they were 4 and over, so run rate was steady as well. So yeah, let's just hope. So give me some Coke, lads. 203-166 Nashville. Sure. Well, I mean, I'm a good advertisement for Kirk, aren't I? 100 required by Jadeja. That would be a bit of a handful. It would be a big turn of that for the books. Look, we mustn't forget the days of VVS Lakshman and Rahul Dravid. Rahul, again, the name Rahul, 6 out. So why not? Let's give them some hope, guys. India should approach today with a lot more positivity in their batting, but also resolute, and they should attempt to, well, not attempt to win, but attempt to bat out 2 or 3 days of play. Yeah, and India can still get ahead if Ashwin comes in and performs a miracle. He's got a lot to prove when he comes back into it. I'm tired of seeing batting repeatedly, get out in the same way. Rowett, pull, Rahul drive, Pujara Kohli pokes out. Baram Irani pant shots. Yeah, Pant's got a curve himself. Nick Anthony Baskaram. Nice to have you here. Nice to have you here. Thank you very much for being part of it. Pujo JD, if England are batting like this, then it's a good sign for us. Yes, it is. India will be encouraged by the way that England have batted and the way they've got the 420 odd runs. Punt is in a series, get out on the same length. That's true. He's got to be careful. Nick Anthony Baskaran, Kohli will get some runs today. I hope so. I really hope so. Maybe bigger than last chance for Bajaj. Well, I think the word last chance is a fair cop, for sure. I think it will be. Last chance is a hard one to say, but the man has scored 6,000 test runs. You've got to remember that. He has scored. He's scored 18 centuries. He's not to be sneezed at. He's not a lightweight player. Mayank and Sky must feature next test match. You'll probably see Mayank or Vihari come in first, ahead of Sky. Hi, actually, Garda, how are you? Yeah, I think before Sky comes in, I think you'll see Vihari and Mayank be given a girl. Go. Not a girl. A guy. Not a guy either. A go. Putt needs to aim for road outside the stadium. 6 is his natural game. Yeah, as long as he doesn't go from the very first ball, give him a little bit of a chance to get in. Last series, Pujara failed the entire series. Yeah, we're going to have to wait and see what's going to happen today. Kohli and Rahul Rowett will have 100+ partnerships. Let's hope. Paranjay Sajeev. I've got confidence that we're going to see some good batting. There's still 345 runs behind. That's a long way to recover, even to make England bat. And that's going to be the issue, I'm afraid. It's a matter of making England bat again, and that's going to be hard. I mean, England are in the box seat. There's no doubt about it. England are in the box seat. So let's be wary of that. Yes, so 6 to 7 players were happy, and I thought, they are very confident they can score more than that. Yeah. I think Rowett has to learn to duck bounces instead of going for it. Or choose his balls. You're right. Totally right. Tim Wilson Davies, Roots wagon wheel showed he scored only 8% of his runs down the ground. India bowling too short. Absolutely. India 550 Kohli double century. If that's what happens, that'll be magnificent for India. We'll get big crowds from India supporting. It'll be great. Yeah. Ishant Sharma probably needs to consider his future, I'd say. England tail out today or in the 4th. Today, look, you'd hope within the first hour they'll be gone. Hopefully even quicker than that. Is there any possible way for a draw? If India can bat 3 days? No rain for the next 3 days. That's correct. Rain also comes when it is in a winning position on 5th day. That's true. It's partly true. Clout cricket. Is there any possible way for a draw? No, it's the same comment there. Okay. Rahan Kohli. Norman brother, looking very smart and handsome. Thank you. Why does Christopher only come when England are in a good position? Well, no, he would be here every day. Through the lockdown in England, he was here every day for every match, before and after, as much as he could. Now he's got a coaching role. He's outdoors. He's free to do what he wants to do. He's got to earn a living as well. He's got a new girlfriend. There's a few things going on. But no, he was on last night after the show, by the way. So, as you know, do you have any idea how to get root as he is strong as plants root? Yeah. I think they just need to continue to bowl an outside off stump line length and bowl properly. Rowett and Rahul will need 150 for none to make India have some confidence in their batting. I would agree. No, I don't agree with that. Umesh Davis, he may come back in the last. I don't know whether he will. India should try it for Hari from Ashwin. Aaron, I agree with the Hari and the Ashwin comments. Posted to Kirsten, I don't know. I'd bring in Tuckall first. Ishant Sharma should retire now. Time has come and go. I think you're right. I think it could be last. Yes, I agree. Can Sakib Mahmood play in the next test? Of course, but I don't think England will need to. They bowl well without him. India will score 650. If India scores 650, that'll take the better part of 2 days for sure. I think Melbourne Storm is not the best team. Please say this. I will not say it. Melbourne Storm is not the best team. In fact, South Sydney Rabbitohs are the best team by 100 miles. Root was uprooted by Apana. Yeah, no. Apana uprooted. No, whatever. Yeah, okay. I think Siraj needs to bowl a little more near off stump. Yeah, he looked good and he was very pleased when he took his wickets. No, I don't think there's any technical difficulties with Virat's batting. I think he's just not in confidence. David Graveney, thank you for joining us.
All right.
How are you?
You still haven't found Sunil. He hasn't come on yet.
No, he hasn't. I did my session yesterday, the preview show. Everyone, this is David Graveney from the former English chairman of selectors. David, we had a 3-hour session pre-show yesterday. You were on for the first hour. Do you know who I had for the last hour?
No. Jim Maxwell.
Jimmy Maxwell, correct. And I made mention that you were on the show earlier, and he was very excited. He said, "Oh, please say hello to David. I like him a lot." So
we had some interesting chats in bars during 2005. Well, actually, on previous tours, I think on 2005 was the only time that I could actually hold my own with him. I think he's Australia's best supporter, I would say, Jim Maxwell. So, I think if you had him and Bill Lorry together, you would not win an argument on any grounds.
No, pretty damn.
No, it's good.
Very.
Jim is a really, really knowledgeable man. You have to be very wary.
Amazing.
Quoting any stats in his direction, because he'll eat you for breakfast if they're wrong. So,
well, I've seen a stat that he has commentated on 201 test matches virtually in a row, but that was some 13, 14 years ago. So he must be pretty close to 350 now, I would imagine, maybe even higher.
Yeah. He found commentary in 2005 a little different, I think, from previous ones of pommy bashing. So,
but he's an excellent.
He's a very good guy. When you speak to him again, give him my best, and I hope he's in good health.
I will. The funny thing was, I was about 2 hours, 20 minutes into about 2 hours into the morning session, and I think Jim rings me on the mobile and says, "Norman, what are you doing?" I said, "I'm live to air." He goes, "Oh, can I join?" Sure. So I quickly sent him the link, and on he came, and he's sitting in his lounge room there in Woollahra, and he's watching the game while we were talking and commentating, ball by ball as he does, and we had an absolute screamer of a time. And he's doing this.
Advice, then you've changed your books.
I have.
Left shoulder.
I know. I've got the billing. So the 11 Gods and Billings of Indians. I've got Remembering David Hooks.
No.
And obviously, because of Jim's presence, I got his book out, the one that says the The Sound of Summer, a memoir.
Right now, it's a very interesting book.
Oh yeah, I've got quite a few more. I've got a truckload of books. I'll tell you, I have a lot.
I'm sure you have.
Plus, I've got a heap of memorabilia, which I'm very proud of, and a lot of personal stuff that was given to me by the likes of Viv and
Yes.
various other Australian cricketers. I've got quite a bit of that memorabilia there. So, David, you watched obviously yesterday with great happiness.
Well, admiration for one man, really, because he's just in a different world compared to anybody else. So, yeah, he's and he's earned that. It's now becoming, I think, a bit of a battle between two captains in terms of their influence on the game. And it's, the comments that have been made by the people at the other end have basically said that actually, he plays the ball so late that it allows him the opportunity to basically feed off anybody who airs in length, whereas probably Virat's the other way around at this stage. Probably doesn't realise that, but anyway, there's lots of peaks and troughs that you can have. So and then I watched a really exciting T20 game in the end when Somerset beat Lancashire with Livingston playing. Fortunately, they got him out pretty quickly. Though he did hit 2 sixes that cleared various buildings at Taunton.
He's going to be a great bit of excitement for the World Cup, isn't he?
Well, as long as he and this is not meant to sound a criticism. I've always felt that Kevin Peterson was probably one of the greatest players that England have had, as long as he still continued to respect the game and respect the opposition. Because otherwise, he was heading for a cul-de-sac. But people who saw him get the scores he got at Mumbai on a wicket that was spinning backwards, so they've never seen anybody play like that before. So he's obviously a talent, and Livingston is the same. That actually his best shots are when he's not trying to burst the ball, basically. So
yes. What do you do with the batsman? Do you try to curb him?
Sorry,
I was going to say, do you try to curb batsmen like that? Do you? No.
If he the game is a great leveler, Norman. If you keep hacking it all the time, you will tend to get out. And people, I say, ironically, actually, I would have to say they both seem to have slightly the same weakness in terms of being slightly vulnerable against left arm spin, because they're so efficient at hitting it through the leg side that actually all the ball has to do. And this happened yesterday where he just drilled. Well, it was a little catch, right? But he drilled one back at a left arm spinner who caught it, I think, through self preservation more than anything else. But yeah, but he's an exciting talent. I can't see how anybody can challenge, particularly now that the competition has been moved to the Middle East as opposed to India. I can't see anybody challenging England in that T20. If you look at the armament they've got, they could do 2 teams of T20 teams. The batsmen and the bowlers they have. So, but England teams, whatever the sport, expectation is not a very good thing for them. So
that's true.
See what happens, and we'll see what happens in the next 2 days. I just think that this is seemingly a hopeless position, and they're probably right. But there's lots of things that you can take out of a hopeless position, and this is the test of character that India will. They've been said they are close to being the best side in the world. Well, this is actually one of the most severe tests. Not to draw, or what character have they got to take the game as far as they can into the 4th and 5th days. We will find out.
Well, I think, again, the key is not so much the 3, 4 and 5, but it's the openers. I think if they can get a substantial opening partnership, not unlike England did with as Rohit Sharma and Kale Rahul did in the first and second test to an extent. Yeah. There's your key, in my opinion, because those two can bat long early on, can set the scene very nicely for Pujara and the like of Kohli and Rahane to come in and have more time, not unlike what Milan and co did as well, and obviously Root.
Yeah, and there are some benefits of having a left-handed right-hander in any form, whether it be test matches or limited overs. Just makes the bowlers have to think a little bit more and rearrange their radar and whatever. So certainly the English openers, and they stuck around. But worrying for me, Hamid did what he normally, which is gone back to script yesterday morning, which is to become shotless virtually, which is puts a lot of pressure to the bloke at the other end, or just allows bowlers to bowl properly. Because I think Ishan Sharma, he's the least effective of the Indian bowlers. So it wouldn't be a surprise if the sun is shining that Ashwin comes in for him. Because it's not the two seamers, two spinners. They've actually got three seamers, all of whom are doing okay. Bumrah is a real find for India, because even if he doesn't get anybody out, he just doesn't go for very many. So I think that the people treat him quite rightly, with a lot of respect.
I mean, there's no doubt that Siraj was even when he took the wickets later in the day, he looked extremely positive and very upbeat and very happy, and that was great to see. To me, Siraj, Shami, and obviously Bumrah are all capable. Shami was a little bit short, but he bowled okay, and then he got a few wickets. But Ishan Sharma was completely out of sorts. He bowled way too short.
I don't know what he does with the ball, Norman. I might be doing in the biggest respect of all time. I don't see. He's not a swing bowler, and I don't see massive seam movement when he plays in England. I don't know whether Indian type wickets that he actually can bowl leg cutters and off cutters suit him a bit more. But he just doesn't look very effective here for some apparent reason. I don't know whether he's a bit undercooked, because he's been injured a bit for the last couple of years, hasn't he?
Yeah, and look, he had I would argue, had a slightly changed bowling action. He almost looked like he was trying to bowl a fast leg spinner. He was really tweaking his hand over, and then one stage he did bowl a slower ball, which was virtually a leg break action. His arm, it doesn't seem to be coming over, so he's not over the top as much with his bowling as he was in the past. He's a lot more side on, or even
Well, I've always thought those leg cutters and that sort of type of delivery, a bit like a Courtney Walsh type delivery.
Yeah.
Where this requires hitting the seam on a pretty regular basis. I'd be amazed if there isn't a cry for Ashwin to play, or you've received numbers of messages and calls saying Ashwin's got to play the next Test match.
Oh, there's no doubt that Ashwin will be in the next Test match, based on it being the Oval and also the form of certainly Ishan Sharma. Whether Jadeja will stay, I think he will. So it may be a swap with Ishan Sharma being replaced by Ashwin and retaining the other bowlers. Tucker may come into play. That's pretty much expected. But the batting lineup, it all depends on this second innings to see whether they can survive the chop that is Pujara in particular. I think that they were able to get through the previous test where they both were able to get runs at that 100-run partnership. We need to see more of that, a hell of a lot more than that. There's nothing to say they can't get 400 in the second innings. There's nothing to say they can't do that.
No, but I think they've got to play with and the attitude in these sort of situations normally is really difficult, because you don't want to be reckless and you don't want to be shotless. So it's somewhere in the middle. The first one have to see off Jimmy, and you have to set up to play Jimmy. I'm going to try and play as fewer balls as possible, but because of his control of in swing, and that's the thing. If there'd been a left-hander, right-hander, not to say he'd be less effective, it just makes him think a bit more. The fact he's got two right-handers, he could set the ball off, every ball in an over, exactly down the same channel, which is actually, he's now perfected this sort of in swing, in swing, in swing, outswing, which is pretty deadly, really. Last person I ever saw do that was Malcolm Marshall, and he did it to order. He would say to his mid-off, right, I'm going to bowl 3 outswingers, and then the fourth ball would be an in-swinger and it'd be LBW. It normally happened.
Incredible.
I've never had that enlightened experience ever in my career. So.
Although Shane Warne was known for doing things like that, where he would tell you what he's about to do and he would do it.
Yeah.
Well, that's a certain level of skill that we all aspire to, but don't necessarily
never achieve. So, so it'd be interesting to see what happens. I personally would declare that the wicket's been under the covers, and if it's going to, there might be some early movement that you might miss because you're fiddling about getting another 20 runs. Well, how many more do you need? So you got 400.
So look at the batting order that England have got there together. At this stage, assuming that the game will go as planned, meaning England will win quite handsomely, are you happy with the batting lineup? Is there a longevity to this?
I quite like. I think England have got some outstanding young cricketers. I'm delighted for Craig Overton, having known the family. I'm obviously very close to the current family for obvious reasons. So, sometimes I know he looks about 12 or even worse than that now with his hairstyle, but he is really a gritty performer. He's lived in a country that was challenging, to say the least, in terms of Zimbabwe. Being brought up in Zimbabwe, so he's not babyface, I can assure you that. So, and Craig Overton is the other way. He's such a big unit that actually he can challenge the Indian batsman in terms of back of the length bowling. So actually, they've fallen on quite a good combination. And even if Sam doesn't necessarily take wickets, he indirectly could affect the determination of the game by what I'd like to see happen is that he gets warned for running on the wicket. I know that's a very cynical view to take, but the rough that he creates will obviously interest Moeen Ali when he's bowling to right-handed batters. So.
Well, it's a part of the gamesmanship of how you go about setting your other bowlers up. Why wouldn't you have that? But the bowling lineup.
Well, no, that's England of old. They took a guy called Paul Taylor, who is guy I know reasonably well, to India. This is when Richard Blakey went as a keeper, and he was like a walking wicket for Cumberland. Just couldn't read him at all. And this guy, Paul Taylor, was a left-arm seamer who literally did run straight down the middle of the wicket. So India decided to play 3 off-spinners and just destroyed England, basically. So you've got to be able to have the right bowlers. And actually, Moeen is, I think, a really good bowler. Sort of, if the ball spins around, he's a very attacking off-spinner. And bowls it, 6 inches outside off stump, which is unusual. But if there is some rough there, he's caused Crowley some problems by bowling out there. Again, the lunging technique has been his undoing, really. So,
I was remiss yesterday not to speak to you directly about the passing of Ted Dexter, and I'm assuming you had a pretty good relationship when you knew him very well.
I actually played against him. It says in the obituary that he retired and then came back and played some Sunday League games. And I played as an 18-year-old at Arundel against him.
Oh, right. And Duke of Norfolk's 11, was that?
No. It was a Sunday League game against Gloucester Sussex. But they played a few games when they brought them back, him and Jim Parks, to be as batsmen, and it worked for a while, but you know, if you're not practicing in between Sunday to Sunday, you're going to come unstuck at some stage. So, and he still hit the ball like a rocket then. So, yeah,
he was chairman of selectors not immediately prior, but what was the timing between his chairmanship and yours?
I think Ray Illingworth took over from him, and then I took over from Ray Illingworth.
Right. So did you ever compare notes with Ted Nixon? Did he give you any advice or any discussion about some of the pitfalls that he experienced?
No, he was still really, from inadvertently saying in a press conference that England's form was based in the position of Venus in the sky, which the journalists just fed off. They just went ballistic. And it's alleged to have said, and you shouldn't speak ill of the dead, but this is rumour, so there's no substantiating it, that when touring parties leave, they're all dressed up to the nines in the airport and off they go. And he went to see them off, and he was engaged in a conversation with a guy who was, 6'2", really well built and whatever. And he said to the bloke, he said, "I hope you get lots of wickets in Australia." And the guy retorted to Ted saying, "Yeah, I quite fancy myself as wickets in getting wickets in the nets, but my main job is I am the physio for the team," which would cause great amusement. But I can understand, just remembering all the names of all the people who were part of a touring party is a challenge. Because I can remember the first, how the team was read out. I think Australia still retain this. Is that I had to be wheeled in front of cameras at Lord's and read it out like a press statement. These are the people being selected to play the next test. So it started off, and I've never said this live actually. So you've got a bit of a scoop here, Norman. Oh. So on the list it's written their proper names. So Michael Atherton, Mark Butcher. So I'm going down without like reading, but they were in initials. They weren't actually the full Christian name. So I went to Michael Atherton, Mark Butcher, and then it was John Crawley. So it was J.C. Crawley. And for some reason or other, I wanted to call him Mark, which is his brother, who played for Notts. So I just then went to just surnames. And nobody spotted it, because that would have been disastrous. I just said Mark Crawley. So it's a bit like don't they have the same thing, the Australians with the Taylors? The offspring was selected in error.
Absolutely. I mean, when you talk Taylor, you mean Mark Taylor and Peter Taylor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was a bit of confusion.
Yeah, that was one.
So it was one of those hot spells, first time in front of the cameras, as chairman selectors, reading out the team live, and suddenly had a brain fade about, well, which Crawley is that? So I just opted for Crawley. Actually, John Crawley was an exceptional player. He was regarded in England as one of, and I think Shane Warne actually did say that he thought John Crawley was one of the best players to spin in the UK, because he'd been predominantly a back foot player. And I think you needed to be able to play Shane Warne, but you couldn't just start playing off the back foot. You had to have done it for the whole of your life, or be your preference. But actually, his brother, who played for, I think he played for Cambridge as well. I'm not sure. I might have got that wrong, or Oxford. Then played a little bit for Notts, and then carved out a fantastic career in the City. Became a really very, very good amateur player because he was a professional, but actually was in one of the towers at 9/11.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but he was in the lower part of the tower, fortunately for him, and managed to get out. But and John is, I've always got on with John. He's really, I've always thought he was a really, really good player, and he's been a housemaster, teacher. I wouldn't say a cricket coach. He's more than that. He's a master in charge of cricket, housemaster, teacher of, I think, teaches history or the classics. A little bit like John Inverarity, actually. Similar things. Didn't progress to being a headmaster, but that sort of level of intelligence, but also that level of thinking about how to play cricket. So he's a really interesting guy to speak to, as was or is, because he isn't there. John Inverarity, just found a really fascinating guy to talk to.
Yeah, very knowledgeable, very astute. He was a selector at one stage too, if I can remember correctly.
No, he was. Yeah.
And I mean,
because
the current situation.
He was a travelling selector. I think the Australians have done it in a. Well, I must admit, I much prefer the Australian method of how they've engaged with the selectors. Sometimes I've always thought I was a slight hanger-oner, whereas they had a really set structure. That actually maybe the convener didn't, like Trevor, didn't necessarily come on all tours, but if there was a travelling selector, whether it be AB or Mark War or John Inverarity, he was duty bound to sign off the team abroad and report back to Trevor Holmes what the team was. But that's at all levels. That was under 19s, that was Australia A, and the senior team. And everybody knew what everybody's role was. Ours has been a bit sort of weird, basically. So for instance, you have me presenting the captain, Jimmy Anderson, didn't happen after that, and certainly wouldn't have happened if his first test was abroad. Then it wouldn't happen then either. So there's now this habit, which is fine, which everybody's consistent, of finding a former international who might be working in the media or one of the coaching staff to actually present the cap.
I'm going to do something here. I'm just going to see while we're talking for a moment. I might just see whether Jim's available, because he's basically in his lounge room. He was on a program called, it was combined with ABC, BBC, and All India Cricket, I think it's called. The 3 channels, they have a weekly update. Have you heard of that update?
No.
Well, no, he's on that, and he
doesn't do commentary all through the night, though, does he?
No, he doesn't. No, not at all.
No.
Not at all, because Australia not involved directly. He's more involved.
That was also one of my disasters in my early days of being a selector. I've seen in Ted's obituary that he was the first paid selector. And I'd have to. Well, he might have been paid, but I wasn't. But maybe because he's an England captain. So I basically had a job normally, even though I was a selector. And this is when we were getting tormented by Shane Warne. And this is in the CFAX days, Norman. So this is how you followed cricket. So the Test match was at Adelaide. So I managed to watch the first day all the way through. Couple of hours kit, and then went to work, and then I tried to do it the second day, and obviously that never worked. Fell asleep, and the BBC wanted to speak to me on the tea time in Adelaide. I think it might have been the third day actually. So I'd slept through everything, but I knew that Shane Warne was bowling us out at the time, so I just put CFAX on, and that was confirmed that he just ran through Atherton, Rambukesh, Hick, and all those guys. So I delivered another live interview to BBC, reading the cricket off the CFAX, having never watched a ball. So. But sadly, playing in Australia, he didn't need to watch so many balls at that stage because it had a deja vu.
See, David, I want to bring Jim. Jim was quite very keen to talk to you, for starters, and secondly, he was quite perplexed with what's happening within Australia. The fact that George Bailey's now the selector, he thinks there's been so many selection headaches that have gone on before, and in particular, he was referring to Trevor Holmes. But and I'm not expecting you to talk out of school, but Trevor Holmes has been a well-respected selector for some time, but I think he may have lost touch a little bit in this last period that he was selector. I think he was a much better selector earlier on, and I think he's not. I'm not knocking him, but something didn't go as right.
Didn't he have a break in his?
He did.
His service?
He did. and he normally had a number of assistants, I'll call it, as you said, like touring selectors. Like he had Mark Waugh, he had the likes of who was it? He had quite a few. He had Mark Waugh, he had good old I've forgotten his name. Who's the bowler from Melbourne with the moustache? Got a mental break. You know who he is.
Merv Hughes.
I forgot.
He couldn't be Merv. So.
No, Merv Hughes. He had Merv Hughes for a period. He had the likes of Mark Waugh. He had a whole host of people helping him.
Yeah.
Even Andy Bickle at one stage. See, to me, George Bailey seems to be doing it on his own now, and so did Trevor Holmes. Is that really sufficient?
Well, it depends. It's actually a moot point, really, Norman. It depends what structure that you have underneath that. He might not. Yeah. They might not be recognised as assistant selectors. They might be a whole series of people that you trust. And in the end, I actually had a series of umpires that actually I would bring up and say, what do you think about this bloke? And so I
really umpires.
I used to speak a lot to David Shepherd because obviously he was a friend.
Yeah.
But he wasn't playing. He wasn't umpiring in domestic cricket at that stage. So the likes of Peter Willey, who I played against, the likes of Ian Gould, people's view that you would respect. And then I got into a bit of a trend of when I'm speaking to the coach. I missed out saying, "How's your player X doing for you?" Because it was never a true account of their values. Either they talked him up or talked him down, depending on the relationship with the player. Whereas I asked them about the opposition, what they thought of the opposition, and that seemed to give me a much better, cleaner feedback. And because I became a selector. I bowled my last ball for Durham in '94 and became a selector the following year. So I could ring people that I either played with and against and say, "What do you think about this bloke?" And you would never have, or I certainly didn't have, either the arrogance to think that you knew all the answers. And people who say, "Well, the current structure that Chris Silverwood has." It's probably right that actually the coach should be like the football manager. The only problem is the game goes on for 4 days. So trying to capture and talk to people and shape an opinion of an individual is just a little bit more difficult. If you go so I could jump in a car, go and watch somebody play, and he'd have his poles flattened. Or you get a scratchy 20. What does that tell me? So batting was really difficult to judge. So actually, what with modern technology now, given that all the clubs film every single ball, gives you a better idea. So, but I think you need to look them you need to be there, not all the time at a match, to just have a feel for what they are as individuals.
I can ask the obvious question. Was there a particular instance where you were not by no means stubborn, but you had a certain point of view about player A, and all those around you who you were taking, their thoughts on were for player B, but you stuck to player A, or you both in the positive, you stuck by player and he performed, or in fact you stuck by player A and he was completely what the others thought of him?
Well, it would be really dull if everybody agreed to every selection.
No, I appreciate that.
And as much as Monty's trying to find out what went on sort of in 2006-07 between Strauss and Flintoff, which I would have to say was one of the most protracted discussions about one individual of 3 people, of being in a room for God knows how long and then going away saying, right, let's sleep on it and whatever. Is there anything that you've heard in the discussions that would make you change your mind? Because sometimes they might do. It's the discussions.
Yeah,
there might be information that comes to fruition that actually does change your mind, or names you hadn't thought of. So yeah, there's not every. I have, and this is definitely when I'm not engaged by the ECB. I have written down a team which is my worst 11 selections.
You mean worst 11 in one team, or worst 11 overall, as in any time, any player?
Oh, 11 players. Yeah. So I'm trying to
Okay.
put them together as a team. And I have to say, and some of them are that if you woke up in the middle of the night, you'd be in a bit of a hot sweat, saying, "Why did I select that guy?" And some of them didn't. Some of them didn't work out. There's a guy who played for Gloucestershire who actually I see quite a lot because we have a past players association, Mike Smith, who played one test match at Headingley, ironically. Quite a controversial selection, probably between myself and David Lloyd. And this was, I think, the lesson I learned, that whatever selections you come up with, and I think Richie Beno is quoted for doing this, that you have to ensure that the captain understands and has bought into the other 10 guys in the team, because otherwise it's disastrous. So selection of Mike Smith, I'm not sure whether Mike Atherton agreed or not agreed, because I know he always thought that Test match cricket should be, and this is definitely a reflection on what was presented to him as a batsman, is it should be played by tall bowlers who can gain bounce. So Mike Smith was not a tall bowler, but swung the ball. And if Graham Thorpe had caught Matthew Elliott early in his, so I think he got 190 or something like that, history could have been somewhat different. But as it ended up with, been a huge defeat. And one count, and he has written this, so this is not telling stories out of school. He said it was the most unhappy period of time that he's ever had on a cricket pitch, because some of the senior players didn't know him or whatever, and it was. And I'm sure Australia have had the same thing from time to time. It was a very cliquey team, so he freely admits, and he's a really sensitive guy. Mike is now a really successful lawyer in Bristol. That 3 or 4 people during that test match didn't speak to him at all.
Wow.
Because they didn't agree that he should have been in the team. So that taught me a really harsh lesson of, you've really got to have the buying and the captain. You know, that it's a bit like sort of, yeah, I'll go along with it, but then if it goes wrong, you then say, right, with the greatest respect, I think we should have done it some slightly differently. So you try and avoid to force a selection on a captain without his agreement. And so selection tends to be, or certainly in the way that I did it, is that you go in with your own mind in terms of who you think should be playing, and then you engage in a conversation that may end up that you change your mind. But you have to leave the room, everybody agreeing, and if you don't agree, you keep silent about it, so it doesn't, because that is probably the worst thing that a selector can do in terms of loyalty, is to reveal how people voted one way or other.
I totally agree. That's right. I mean, if there's a consensus on the new player coming in, or more importantly, if there's a difference, they don't show that, so the team has a form of harmony even with a new player in, and don't shun that player or make that player not be a part of the squad, because it's just detrimental all round. Very good points. The other thing was Usman Khawaja on his YouTube channel, Cause to Stir in Australia. I think I may have mentioned it to you.
Yeah.
He talked about his own selection, and he went jokingly, quietly, that he shouldn't have been dropped. And he respected Justin Langer, but he said it was Trevor Holmes and Justin Langer who didn't put him in the team. I thought it was rather strange, because that's his own very public YouTube channel with hundreds of thousands of viewers, and the fact he's still in the frame for a potential selection in the future. That to me was quite a mistake, that he would come out and talk about his own selection and not being happy with being dropped and making comments like that. That can't be good for him. Surely you should not do that.
You shouldn't do it, but I suppose if there's one country that you could get away with, that would be Australia. I think, and that's the credit of Australians, that actually they speak their mind, and once they've done it, they don't sulk about it, and what is said, and let's move on. So whereas you can have some other countries where that wouldn't be the case. And I only talk about myself personally. I like a proper sulk. So yeah, but it is a dangerous thing to do. So I've got some views about how the game is being run in this country, and there'll be a time and place to share those views. But the last thing you want to do is with the world being such an unstable state as it is to promote anarchy of people publicly criticizing other people for the decisions they make. Nobody makes a decision to the detriment of individuals. And in my experience of being involved with England is that people think through the rationale for why things should happen. And that's even in the environment I work in now. It's all I try to do is to get people to remember what you said before about an individual. We have to try and be as consistent as we can. And if you do go in a change of direction, you have to be very clear on the reasons why you've gone in that direction. So, but Trevor, and I met him because, again, my affection for Brisbane and Queensland, because he was based there. Yeah, we did meet occasionally, and I didn't have a problem about that. So, as I didn't have a problem about asking Shane Ward when he was playing for Hampshire, what do you think about player X? And he was very helpful to me personally. And he just said, look, Grav, I'm quite happy to help, but you have to understand, if England are playing Australia, that ends. So, but again, it's the same as asking Beefy. Those types of players will always think out of the box. They will not go for conventional selections. So it's just, again, it's just
they're great to bounce things off, aren't they? They're great to bounce things off.
It's getting information to just cover off. Have I thought about everyone that I should be thinking about?
So not that you're the selector for Australia, but if you look at an Australian squad on the basis of what you have seen or you have heard, if you had to quickly run off a batting lineup, forget the bowlers are pretty much decided, what would you do? Is there something you would like to talk about?
Well, where does Steve Smith feature in terms of what the future looks like? That's why I asked you about Harris yesterday. Where does he feature?
Well, Marcus Harris is certainly there.
David Warner. Some of them have had some. There is a technical thing about developing players in England. I don't know whether it's used in Australia. Is in terms of the rocky road, that actually a development of a player is better off if they do have a rocky road. In other words, they do have some setbacks and challenges. And I think that, and I don't know how much red ball cricket there is between the end of the main contenders. Are they all playing white ball cricket before the Ashes? It appears that they will be.
They will be, absolutely. They're playing the World Cup. They're going to go straight into an Afghanistan series if they're up for it.
Yeah, so they're there's some interesting, but it's the same as England have had. That sort of, when I said to you how difficult it is to select batsmen. How long's a piece of string? Should Sibley have played one more Test match? Would he have then walked off having 70 or 80 or whatever? So it is really difficult to. And I do think what has happened is that I think most people have moved away from the one Test match wonder and basically realised that actually, even if you do think you've made a mistake, a guy needs more than one opportunity to play. And I think bowling, as I said before, is an easier thing to assess. So I haven't really answered your question because I don't quite know what the options are really.
Well, I'm going to give you a bit of a from what you're saying. You're suggesting Warner would stay there and perhaps Marcus Harris would open, depending on the availability of Pukovsky. Then you would have Labuschagne at 3, Smith at 4, that's a pretty much expected top four, I would argue. But what comes after, Travis Head and Matthew Wade are gone, as far as they were dropped. They're taken out of Test cricket, certainly. Unless they do something
I'd
dramatic.
move them all. I don't move them. Sorry to interrupt. No, I move them all one down. So I find another opener to bat with Warner. I've got Harris at 3. 4, Smith at 4, Labuschagne 5. I think that gives it much more depth in terms of what you're trying to
do. Interesting. I like that. So you would say potentially Bukowski because he was the one earmarked to open.
Yeah,
he hit his shoulder.
Then he got slotted on the head.
As well.
And not to be cynical, Norman, they can't do any worse than what's gone before them. So
that's true.
But just go young, and then if that's the lineup you have, then you can add Cameron Green to it, a wicketkeeper at 7, whoever that might be, and I hope they persevere with Tim Payne. But that's their choice, and then you've got the bowlers after that. So
I like that. So you're okay. This is actually that makes a lot of sense. So you're opening, well, let's just say Warner, Bukowski, Harris at 3, then Smith followed by Labuschagne, then into Cameron Green, the keeper Payne or whoever it will be, and then the 4 bowlers at line.
It just looks a stronger 7 to me than
it does. It does. It does. It really does. I think that makes a lot of sense because there's no one coming in at this point to bat at 5 and 6. Travis Head's not. Matthew Wade's not. There's really no one. I mean, Curtis Patterson's floating around. He could be another 3. And the other question was, and I was alluding to it, was Usman Khawaja. Would you think if he captained Queensland this previous summer to the Sheffield Shield final and they won?
He could open the batting. I don't see any problem about that.
No. He captained the Queensland side that won the Sheffield Shield against New South Wales and beat them very convincingly. And Adam Hollioake was he was the batting coach actually for Queensland. He still is the batting coach for Queensland as far as I'm aware. And he talked highly of Labuschagne, but he had a lot of good things to say about Khawaja as well.
Yeah.
So that to me.
So if you go Warner, Khawaja, Harris, Labuschagne, Smith, then that's actually, pretty decent lineup. Or Labuschagne and Smith, you can swap around if you wanted to, or you can swap them all around. But
yeah,
I think you've got some quality players going that way. So having said that, there's very little chance of that happening. So.
Oh no, I think there's a good chance. That makes a lot of sense. And you mentioned Cameron Green. He's batting quite well. He's bowling. He hasn't taken wickets yet. But the keeper that they're all talking about, other than Tim Payne, and he's probably his last year at captain. So I think with Justin Langer going next May without any doubt, if not earlier, you'll see Tim Payne probably leave at the same time. But Josh Inglis from WA, he's given so many raps by so many people. He looks to be earmarked as the next keeper.
Is he the guy who's played in England for Derby? Is that the same guy?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, he's good. Very good.
Young guy. He was young, wasn't he?
Yeah. Young guy. He's been playing. He's their overseas player, and then went into the 100-ball game because he had quite a bit of success for Leicester actually. Might have been. I think it might have been the same side that Harris was playing for. Do they play for the same state or not?
Yes. No, Marcus Harris was playing for Victoria. I think he may have moved to WA. I think he has. I have to remember Marcus Harris was a Victorian. And I'm pretty sure he's changed states. It may well be WA that he's gone to. And that would then be the case, yes.
Yeah.
Well,
Marcus Harris got some big hundreds, not just 105. He got 140, 150, played really, really, really well. So.
Well, that's great. So that actually encourages me, that decision. I like the way you put Labuschagne a bit further down, put Marcus Harris up there to add more depth to the opening positions, and there's no reason why Labuschagne can't bat a bit further down. You're right. I think that would be because we need a middle order batsman or two. We haven't got that. We certainly Matthew Wade is not. Matthew Wade seems to be back in favour of the T20 squad. God knows why. Alex Carey's dropped below him. Matthew Wade is not a good captain, nor is he batting well, and his keeping is okay, but not as good. Really, they need to.
No, when you're 3 down, you need somebody. So the game's a bit in the balance. Who is going to come in and bat long? And
Labuschagne's a good pick.
all those guys are white ball players, and they're bashers basically. So
Yeah,
you know,
very,
there is
very.
an art about playing Test match cricket. It might sound really dull, but you've got to basically occupy the crease, wear the bowlers down, and make hay when they begin to tire. So we'll see.
That's excellent.
No, I'm not going to have to peel off in a sec.
All right, thanks, David. I appreciate that greatly. The game's about
Fairs
another
of
20
state.
minutes away. So, what are you predicting?
Jim
what are you
will
predicting?
speak at some stage.
What are you predicting today?
I hope for all the Indian fans obviously want England to win, and that, to me, that is nailed on. There's no rain in the pipeline at any stage. I just hope that the Indians, for their own well-being, that they actually show some character, because that is all you can ask in this situation. In that dressing room, you know, whatever your focus is, whether it's your family, country, or whatever, just go and put some value on your wickets. Don't just try and block. Back your ability. I've just played normally. Play the ball on its merits, and see where we are. So, and I would do it session by session. You know, whenever they start to bat, whether it be before lunch or something like that, or when England get bowled out, that could happen in an over. First target's lunch. Let's not lose any wickets, and just do it session by session, and see where they are at the end of today, and then start again. And the England bowlers will be a little bit tired, but you can't look any. I'm surprised. Well, I don't bet, but I assume the book is now shut in terms of taking any bets on this match. So, so that's how I'd see it panning out. And I think it would be. I think it would be good for because the Test series is alive. It will go to the last Test match, whatever happens.
Absolutely.
And I think it would be really good for the series. I might be shot down for doing this. That we see the true Kohli come to the crease and bat.
Absolutely. Well said.
And he has to look at his opposite number and say, right, I can match that. Well, I hope he doesn't match it, but you know, the true Virat Kohli steps forward.
Excellent, David. Thank you very much yet again. You've been fantastic. And I'll say hello. Hopefully Jim will come on, but Jim said hello.
Yeah,
and I'll tell him that you said hello back.
So hope he's well. Cheers.
All right, thanks, David.
See you later. Bye.
Thank you, David. Thank you very much. Much appreciated. Aren't we lucky? That's just fantastic to have David Gravity there with the mouse. And I think the Australian team, I hope George Bailey's watching this, because the Australian side that David Gravity's put forward is a very sound one. He's based on the knowledge of what he's seen Marcus Harris do in England, whereas he scored hundreds and big hundreds, that he's suggesting Warner would bat with Bukowski or maybe Khawaja, then have Marcus Harris at 3, Smith at 4, Labuschagne at 5, Cameron Green at 6, and the keeper, say Tim Payne, currently at 7, and then have Lyon or thereabouts at 8, and then the bowlers of Hazelwood, Stark, and Cummins, not in that order, but batting the 11 players. That's a pretty strong side. I'll give it to him. That's a pretty good side. All right, guys, we've got away from this match. Is he droning on and on? Oh, he's not dull at all, guys. He's fantastic. He's a lovely accent. At least bring Baron is Vishy on that license. Well, it was a fantastic discussion if you listen to it carefully, guys. Innings defeat prediction. I think that's possible. So I dropped it quite because there are clicks there, on the winning match. Okay, Tim thinks the same. Indian fans will be more than happy that somehow managed to afford to innings defeat. I think that would be great. Yes, England will win. India will be defeated. Ha ha. David is great. He is great. Certainly is. Muhammad Asif says 390. That's what you're saying India will get. Well, that will give them the barest of leads at all at this point in time. Gil.
Hi, Norman.
How are you? You probably didn't see after you left yesterday, about maybe 20 minutes in, Jimmy Maxwell rang me.
Oh, good to know.
And Jim Maxwell's on for about 45 minutes. I went 3 hours. It was the best discussion ever. Pity he didn't stick around.
Well, Norman, there are other things as well. One needs to sleep, then report to work. Can't be.
Oh, I know that.
sticking-
I know that. But did you have a chance to see that? No.
No, but I will. Now that you mentioned it, I will. Don't worry.
So I can even tell you it was from 2 hours, 23 minutes and 10 seconds into the video from yesterday. Jim turned up. He actually rang me while I was on air and said, "What are you doing, Norman?" I said, "I'm live." He says, "Can you come on?" "Why not?" He's in his lounge room with a wine. He'd had a long discussion with both BBC, ABC, where he's from, and All India Cricket, and they had a great discussion. So what do you think about today, Gil? Come on, let's get some resurrection. What's your thoughts?
Yeah. As an Indian fan, I just want them to bat as long as possible. I want them to bat a minimum of 100 to 120 overs and ensure that Anderson is bowling 30, 35 odd overs, because the next test match is in 3 days. So you bowlers to be bowling as well. Yesterday could have been a lot worse than what it was for India, because the thing that I feared the most was that probably England would be batting till the third new ball, which would be 160 overs, but that doesn't look likely anymore. And if you look at it in isolation, yesterday, if you look at it in isolation, India conceded 300 runs and took eight wickets on one of the very good batting pitches. So you really can't complain much, except for maybe uh, say that Ishan Sharma was pretty poor yesterday. I thought that I don't remember the last time he was so poor. I actually did up some numbers and looked at it. The last time that Ishant had given runs. So Ishant has bowled more than 10 overs in an innings 98 test matches, and he's given more than 4 runs per over on 21 occasions. Out of those 21 occasions, only 3 of them have been after August 2016. So that tells you that how bad he was yesterday. I thought
Yeah.
in the last seven years, it was probably his worst performance. He looked out of rhythm. The pace was down. He was struggling to complete his run up. I thought that the follow through wasn't complete as well. And Sid Monga did a very good article on it. He said that this could have been much worse than what it is already. You could have seen maybe Joe Root batting on 200 at the end of the day, Bairstow or Malan batting till 100, which could have been the case had it been 2011, 2012. But thankfully to Bumrah, Siraj, and Shami, they still did a decent job to ensure that England, aren't this ahead, that Indian bowlers are completely tired and broken for the next Test match. So from that point of view, it's a good thing. But now you'd want the batsmen to. I don't think that they can even draw this. There's too much time. I just don't think that they can even draw this, even if they bat for 2 days. The
It's
only
not,
thing that I'm looking for,
it's not about
the
winning and
only thing that
losing
I'm
now. It's
looking
about
for is
batting
that
well.
to ensure that they, yeah, it's about putting overs in the legs of English bowlers to ensure that they aren't as fresh as you like them going into the fourth and the fifth test. That is all of it is about. And hopefully one of three, four, five strike form, because you'd really like Virat to score runs. It would be quite. For me, I think India are still the favorites, despite even if they lose the test match. I think they're still the better side, but you would want the likes of Virat and Pujara to score some runs now, because they probably take that confidence into the next two test matches, and that would give a lot more confidence to this Indian batting side.
Now, Tim Wilton Davies has just made a comment on your Anderson, keep him in as long as he can to tie him. But he actually thinks the opposite. He thinks it'll help Anderson keep his rhythm for the fourth test, seeing us so close. Interesting. I don't know whether that's really the case, but I think Anderson's really making sure he doesn't over bowl himself. Yet still bowl as much as he can to take wickets, but he's not over bowling himself. Anderson also seems to be the sort of person that wants to bowl as much as he can, thinking it's his last test match. He has that about him as well. He's become very determined. I think he wants to. I think he would love to knock off Warne's record. Morally, he may not, but he would love to knock off Warren's record, I reckon. He'd love to break that up.
Yeah, I'm not sure if he'd be able to play that long. I think he's on 625, because taking wickets in Australia is going to be difficult. When England come down under in December, because he's not exactly a hit the deck kind of a bowler. He might still get wickets, but not as much as what he do in England. So I'm not sure how many test matches he still has in himself. But yeah, even if you say that he plays 10 or 15 test matches, or probably end of this World Test Championship cycle, it's 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 going to be difficult. It's going to be a stretch for him to reach 700. He might reach 650, 675. 700 might be difficult.
I mean, it's not out of the question that he'll reach Warren, put it that way.
Yeah.
So, okay, let's look at some of these comments. I think Abhishek Sharma says it all. That's probably the most apt thing to say, wouldn't you?
See, it's not just about Pujara scoring runs. It's also about how he's scoring those runs. You don't want him to be scoring runs when he's been dropped 3 or 4 times, because then that really doesn't help. And honestly, I don't see Pujara scoring a 50. 100 is a far-fetched thought, and this is something that I've said before. This is what I'd said, in the pre-match show as well, that the issue with Pujara is not that he's unable to bat time. He can bat time. He can bat 200 balls, but eventually you also have to score, and he's not scoring a lot. His attacking shot percentage has come down to 9%. Yesterday, Joe Root completed his 100 in around 120 or 130 odd deliveries. Uh, and eventually he was dismissed for 121 after batting 165 deliveries. Pujara doesn't reach a 50 when he's batted 160, 170 deliveries. So the issue is, he might bat long, but when you are going to bat that long, 200, 250, 300 balls, you are going to get deliveries that will have your number on it. I don't think that at this point of time Pujara is maximizing his stroke play. And I've said it. I said it during the Australia tour as well. I think he's completely shelved playing the hook and the pull, and he's not playing the cut shot as well. And it almost feels like to fuller length deliveries, or to good length deliveries, he doesn't even complete his bat swing so that the ball can reach the fielder. He's completely dead batting. Dead batting is important, but it isn't something that you can do all the time. You have to, the currency of this game still remains runs and wickets. You can be bowling a lot of good length deliveries. You can be facing a lot of balls, but at the end of the day, you have to score runs and you have to get wickets. Bumrah has been bowling very well. I think he was again the pick of the bowlers for India yesterday, as he was in the first innings in Lords, but he's not got the wickets for it, which is why I feel that there is going to be an innings where Bumrah is going to get a lot of cheap wickets. It's very similar to what had happened in the Border Gavaskar Trophy of 2018 and 2019, where he had bowled brilliantly in Perth, but he got wickets for it in Melbourne, where he got that 6 for. So that is eventually, what counts. You need to get runs and wickets. You can bat balls, but it is only the runs that will make the game move forward. And at this point of time, Pujara is only concentrating on playing balls. He's hoping that if he bats more balls, he will score runs. He will get a loose delivery. But against good attacks, you don't get those bad deliveries to score runs. Uh,
That's
it's
true.
not Australia where it's not Australia where you have Cameron Green and a Nathan Lyon to whom he can attack and score runs off, and there's no Mitchell Stark either, who can be erratic sometimes. You know, the weakest link of this bowling lineup is Moeen Ali and Sam Curran. And to Root's credit, he's not bowling Moeen Ali enough to Pujara to let him score runs. So yeah, Pujara's really in a fix right now. I don't see him scoring a 50 either, because at this point of time, for him to score a 50, he needs to bat, I think, around 40 or 45 overs, and I don't see that happening at this point of time.
So, are you suggesting quite emphatically that we're not going to see Pujara in the next test?
I hope so. I'm not sure if we'll see that or not, because I think Kohli really thinks that no, anyone who comes from the squad, or from the 15 who are outside. I don't think he feels that anyone is capable enough of replacing Pujara and Rahane at this point of time. But then, uh, you know, uh, you have to take a tough decision at some point of time anyway. You can't expect someone who's coming in straight away to replicate the role. You have to allow them that opportunity to fail as well sometimes. So there has to be a start somewhere. I think uh, India do need to bring in Hanuma Vihari in the next test. And I'd spoken of this before this test match as well, that India need to play Ashwin, because there had been phases in this series where the four fast bowlers were becoming an overkill and they were not able to control the score, the rate of runs. Yesterday in the post lunch session, India conceded 116 runs in 26 overs. They missed Ashwin. You the fact is that you can't survive, or you can't play enough test matches with just four bowlers and a spinner like Jadeja who's not bowling enough. There are going to be times when the attack is going to become one dimensional. There are going to be times when one of the pacers or probably two of them won't be able to put a string on them, and that is where you need someone like Ashwin. In this test match, considering Malan was going to come back, there it would have been another left-hander. Malan, Burns, Sam Curran, and Moeen Ali would have had four of them in the top six, top seven. It made a lot. It made a lot of sense to play Ashwin. Consider, but I knew that since India haven't lost any of the first two test matches, you wouldn't see that change. But if India do lose this test match, which looks very much likely, you might see Ashwin coming in the next test match, and you need him. You really need him.
So you're saying the selection would be Ishan Sharma out, Ashwin in.
At this point of time, it does look like that, because Ishant Sharma was very, very poor yesterday. I'm not sure even if he was fit. Mohammad Shami in the press conference said that he was fit, but it doesn't look like that. He was down by 5 kilometers than what his average pace was. So yeah, it might have to be that.
It's interesting to see. Really, in terms of batsmen, now we're talking about overall, Joe Root has to be really in the top two batters in the world at the moment.
In test matches, yes, without a doubt. You know what surprises me, Norman? If you look at Joe Root's game technically, I think among the Fab Four, he's perhaps technically the best batsman. Probably better than Steve Smith in terms of pure technique. What surprises me though, with regards to Joe Root, and I've said this before, is that he has an average of only 40 in Australia, where he should be averaging a lot more, because his back foot game, as we've been seeing, is brilliant. There is no reason for him to not succeed in Australia when he scored runs in England, in West Indies, in India, in New Zealand, in South Africa. For him to average less than 40 in Australia doesn't make a lot of sense, because I've said it before that there's only bounce, that there's pace and bounce. A lot of it is consistent. So if you've already batted 40-50 deliveries in Australia, your chances of getting dismissed come down far more drastically than what they do in say conditions like England, South Africa, and in India, where because in India the ball tends to turn as well, and India's always had quality spinners. So it comes as a major surprise that Joe Root uh, doesn't have that great record in Australia. And they could have probably challenged Australia in the upcoming Ashes if they had Stokes and Archer fit. But the fact that both of them are not available, I still think that Australia will be the favourites for the Ashes.
It is interesting though, because this is certainly Root's chance to do well in Australia. He's in such great form leading into it, a rich vein of form, as you would say, that he would be likely to do well. He's actually 390 or thereabouts runs from reaching the most runs in the calendar year from anyone. Muhammad Yusuf has that at 1788. So he's already 1,390 or something, and he's got only 390 to get, and he's got literally 5 test matches to do it in. So, including this next innings, he gets a chance to bat, and the next 2 tests. So he could quite conceivably be score the most runs in the calendar year of any test batsman, which is one hell of a feat, especially in a COVID year. That's pretty amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, it's going to be an amazing feat, no doubt about it. But I think, or I'd rather hope. I hope that he scored all the runs that he needed to in this series, uh, because
I do too, but I mean, you think the chances are pretty
I'll
good.
tell you why. I'll tell you why. It's not that India have entirely bowled well at him. I think they've been good in phases and patches, and I do. And this is where I'm coming from. India could have really struggled in the Australia series had Ashwin not got the measure of Smith and Labuschagne in the first two Test matches. It would have been really, really difficult for India to, even win, especially in Melbourne, where they were inserted on day one, where they had to bowl on day one, and the pitch looked completely flat. So this is where I'm coming from. I think this Indian bowling attack and the think tank is good enough to come up with some sort of a plan in the next two test matches to stop Joe Root from scoring runs. Yesterday, I thought they were not even disciplined enough. Like Ishant Sharma bowling all those half volleys and short balls outside the off stump was really disappointing. Then Jadeja, like I've been saying, Jadeja probably becomes half the bowler that he is when there is no Ashwin to to bowl at the other end. And yeah, I think probably the law of averages has to catch up with him sometimes in the series, and probably India will have to come up with a better plan. Hopefully, if they add Ashwin in the next test match, that helps. Hopefully, that helps because he's a class act. He will if even if he will not be able to get say a root out, he'll be at least be able to put a lid on the scoring, which is something that really helps.
So on Ishan Sharma, I looked at his bowling action. He's bowling this ball, which is kind of almost like a leg break or like as a leg spin. He brings his hand right over. He's bringing his arm more side on. It wasn't bringing it directly over his head. He changed his action. I don't know whether it's deliberately or what, but it was clearly something wasn't right with his bowling action. There was no doubt about that. Would you agree?
Yeah, like I said, I'm not sure what was wrong with him because he didn't seem to be in any kind of a rhythm yesterday. Uh, it felt as if he was not even completing his follow through. His pace was down, and yeah, I'm really not sure what was the issue. Really don't know. Probably we need someone from the bowling group come and talk about it. Probably the coach or probably Shan Shamath himself, that was he struggling for a rhythm or was there an issue with the injury or did he pick something up? Because yeah, I'm really not sure what was happening with him.
Yeah, it's quite frustrating. So what's happening with the player? I'm trying to get the visual up. It's not coming up at the moment. My screens are playing up. They must be pretty close to walking out, are they? Is that what you're saying?
Sorry.
Are you seeing them walking out to play?
Yeah, I don't have a TV right in front of me right now.
Okay. Well, it's funny. My internet's playing up, not with our broadcast, but about my Foxtel connection, which is obviously. It's lucky I've got it on several platforms. In fact, no, there's a problem all round. There seems to be a problem. The telecast is not coming through. But there must be. Isn't there something frustrating about not being able to see something when you've got it available on all sorts of different platforms? Makes it very annoying. But look, as far as today is concerned, what do you think, Gil? What's your thoughts about today? What do you think will happen? Give us a bit of a score synopsis.
I think India will probably try and wrap up the remaining two England wickets in the first half hour or so, and after that you would like India to bat. As I don't see India avoiding an innings defeat, but I hope that they bat long. I'm not sure how much confident that they are of batting, but yeah, I don't see them avoiding an innings defeat. If they are able to do that, I would say it's a job well done.
They're actually saying that the covers were just taken off 5 minutes ago. Is that implying that well, that's why, because there's been light rain in Headingley, very light rain. So they've just taken the so-called covers off now. So that would mean play won't start on time. It is likely to play, well, anywhere up to half an hour later from the point of an actual pitch being uncovered. So it looks as though we've got a slight delay occurring here. So, okay, prediction score-wise, let's just say you're saying half an hour to get them out. That's half an hour's a long time for two batters to
I think
get out.
it's begun. It's begun.
Has it?
Yeah.
That's strange because it was 10:55. They had the thing was okay. So yeah, it is Sharmi's bowling to Overton. You're right.
Yeah.
Don't know what happened there with the pitch report. All right. Well, so what's your summary quickly of the day? Score-wise, scores.
Score-wise, it's difficult to tell, but you'd hope probably England.
No, what you do is,
by
Gil, you open your mouth and you say 3 for 3. It's not difficult to tell.
Okay, so England all out for around 450, and probably India would be around 250 odd for 5 or 6 down by the end of the day. I don't see them getting all out today.
How much?
250 for 5, 250 for 6, somewhere around that. Yeah, but
okay.
I think they'll be the game will be done by lunch, or between lunch and tea tomorrow. I think the game will be done.
Okay. Are you saying out of that 4 or 5 for 250 that who gets the runs?
That is too difficult to tell. I hope Virat does, but at this point of time, India's 3, 4, 5 are not exuding any confidence of scoring runs. Virat in the first innings actually looked like he was in good touch because he was leaving well till the time he got dismissed. So Aaron saying that don't be so optimistic. I'm not so optimistic. I know that they are going to lose. I'm just hoping that one of the 3 or 4, 5 get some runs and get in some kind of a form, hopefully.
Well, I mean, it looks like the first day, but they're saying that Sharmi's not bowling too shabbily, but Overton hasn't scored any runs off him. I guess, England shouldn't need to occupy the crease. Just they should be going for it. They should be enjoying themselves. That's what I think. But Overton, who can bat? He got 24 so far. He's certainly no slouch, that's for sure.
Yeah.
All right. Again, I'm happy. If you want to talk longer, we can talk longer. Or if you want to go and watch the game with a nice cup of tea, or
no, I'd like to watch the game. I'd like to watch the game because there isn't much to discuss. To be very honest.
Okay. All right. No problem, Gil. Thank you very much for joining me. I always love having you on for your time. But Jimmy Maxwell came on this. He may not come on now, but if he does, watch out. Keep an eye on my show because he can jump straight back on if Jim comes on.
Sure.
Good to have him on.
Okay. Bye.
All right. Thank you again, Gil. Always fantastic to have on.
Thank you. Bye.
Overton's listed a 4 too.
2 fours.
2 fours.
2 fours.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
So he's on 30.
By the way, just one stat. Since 1st Jan 2015, India have conceded 500 runs only thrice. One was in Chennai earlier this year. One was in Rajkot 2016 versus England only, and the one was in Sydney 2015 when India were in that 2014 tour when Smith scored that 100. So that is how good at Indian bowling.
500 runs in one innings, you know.
Yeah, only thrice in last 6 years since 1st Jan 2015. So hopefully,
earlier on this year was because of Root's double 100, wasn't it? Root got a double 100.
Yeah. So hopefully today is not the 4th time. That also tells you how good the Indian bowling attack has been. And since 2015, this innings is the 9th innings in 68 Test matches where they have conceded more than 400 runs. In comparison, they had conceded 400 runs 8 times in 2014 only. That is how
impressive. Very impressive.
That is how bad they were before 2015 as a bowling attack. Today this been one Test match which has been a Test match to forget and is reminiscence of the times when India were plundered left, right, and center whenever they travelled overseas. So yeah.
Oh look, this Indian bowling attack's been superb for quite a while now, but today it's not shaping in their favour. So the fact that now Overton's on 32, it would be they got to get him out. And Robinson can bat as well. These two can bat. They really
Yeah,
can. So they've got a bit of depth to their batting lineup, as a matter of fact. It's quite.
which is why I said, Norman, that in isolation yesterday's day wasn't that bad, because uh, India only conceded 300 runs while they're taken 8 wickets. So if you look at in isolation, 300 runs, 8 wickets in one single day, when it's probably been very good batting conditions, it is not bad. It's just that they've been let down so poorly with the bat that there's nowhere to hide. It's as simple as that.
Absolutely, absolutely well said. But I wouldn't. How can I put it? I wouldn't be so disparaging about India today. I think that they'll bat okay. I can't see them just getting out for under 100 again. I think they will get a commendable total of 300 plus, hopefully more than that, and they'll at least make it respectable enough. Rather, they won't win, but they'll make it respectable. I think you'll find that there'll be some of the Indian batsmen will fire.
I'm hoping for that only. So let's hope. Anyway, I'll go now, and I'll put on the TV and see how they do.
All right, Gil, you take care.
Okay. Okay. Bye.
All the best.
Bye.
Talk to you
Thank
either tonight or tomorrow.
Sure. Bye.
Sure. If Jim jumps on, you jump on. All right. So we've had both Gurkharat Singh Gill and the David Graveney, of course, the former chairman of selectors, great friends with Ted Dexter, knew him well, played against him. Ted Dexter, Ray Ellingsworth, and also David Graveney were three chairmen of selectors in a row, all captain. Well, two were captains of England, and one probably should have played Test cricket. I'm not sure, but his uncle certainly did it, and Tom gave him. So quite impressive. India needs to change up bowling a bit as Root has got settled. Yeah, I would agree with that. I think it may be Ashwin's turn to do that. Any batsman should play without the pressure of saving the match and job. Totally agree. Vibhav Taragi, this is it. Relax and bat. Don't think about results, just bat. Pujara Vihari for Rahane. Sky for Pujara Vihari for Rahane for the next two matches. See how they go first. Well, what's your thoughts about Ashwar? He's a good bungee player. Yeah, he was picked as another opener. So, unfortunately or fortunately, we've got Rahul doing well with Roberts, so he's not going to get an opening spot, so he misses out. Agarwal has also for a spot down and go. Punch should do work with his shot selection. Yeah, he should, or at least be batting maybe one lower and let the likes of Jadeja bat perhaps one further up. That's probably what they need to consider for sure. Absolutely for sure. So yes, let's have a look here. It does look like the batting of England, the tail's wagging. You got Overton hitting 2 4s in that first over, which is a bit alarming. Just adding further to the runs that India have to get to knock off as they fast approach 400. Unfortunately, that's quite concerning. You'd have to agree. Certainly have got some Wi-Fi issues here today, I'm afraid. I'm having all sorts of Wi-Fi issues. I can't really get any of the match scores up. I'm just going to try again to see what I can get anything up there. Just seems to me that, yeah. All right, so no one wants to comment about Pant illegally tapping his gloves. What are you talking about, Munchie? What do you mean? No one wants to comment about Punt illegally tapping his gloves. Tapping his gloves on the stumps or on the ground? You're making that noise while the batsman's batting. Is that what you're talking about? And when you do that thing, Anderson will retire. Well, it's not going to be until after the Ashes. It could well be next summer in England, so they'll have a nice home farewell. That's probably what will be the case. And I think once he's passed, probably Warren's wicket take it's at numbers, so that's probably what he's after. I don't think he's finished yet, that's for sure. He could play another 10 test matches the way he's going. So, but I hope he retires on his own terms and not by being dropped. No, okay. Overton looks quite accomplished at the crease. Very key few and good shot. Yeah, I agree. Buckled, really good. Overton's out. Okay. Trying to get a hold of it. That's going to be interesting. Aaron, don't say. Yeah, exactly. Don't say that's probably not a good thing to say. Let's just get some live scores up here. Is over now? We'll have a look. I'm not seeing him out. Overton's not out. Who said Overton's out? Munchie. Today is England going to win. Okay. Munchie punt had red tape around his fourth and fifth fingers on his gloves. The rule stated you can only have webbing between the thumb and first finger. So he had tape between those two, you're saying, rather than that. Interesting. Well, has there been any comment, Munchie? I don't know. I haven't seen or heard anything. So he had. Okay, so the umpires told Punch to remove the tape after Milan was given out. Okay, so what's happened since? Has he put the tape back on, Munchie? Is that what you're saying? Yeah, Craig Overton is now out. Yes, he is out. He's out. LBW to Sharmy. With Wokes, Overton, Moen, Curran, Ali, Stokes, England have got a good all-round stable to fulfil dual purposes, especially in Lotrick. Yeah, that's true. Good observation, mate. Well, I don't know what's being said about that, Munchie. Has there been anything said about that? I haven't heard anything about it. So tell me, Munchie, it was a good observation. But tell me when that was said. What was actually was said? So they are 9 down. This should be finished up pretty quickly with a 3:53 lead at the moment. And that's Sharmy taking his. So I've got Marcus Lawrence sending me a wisdom pick. Yeah, my social media is so slow at the moment, Munchies, I can't get them out quickly. So look, so England, Rishabh Pant takes the catch with illegally taped gloves. That was actually reported in the Wisdom papers. Let's have a look. Interesting. So here we are. We've finally got some play coming on the screens. Yeah, and it's Anderson won't last long. So, all right, thanks for that, Munchie. I'll have a look at that article. Liam Livingston's going to destroy every bowler. He's a real beast. He certainly is. He played particularly well in the short form of the Vitality Blood the other night. So here we are. Let's have a look what's going on here, guys. Yeah, so Sharmy takes that 9th wicket. And England is certainly well in front. They're 9 for 431. They're 353 in front. There's nothing to be concerned about there. That's a great start for them, certainly. And you know the reality is that we've got Bumrah's warming up. So Bumrah's now warming up. I think that we're going to find that it's going to be an interesting little period here. I think wicket falls. Hopefully the wicket will hold, and we'll have some good opening batting from our good friends, as in Rohit Sharma and KL Rahul. So Bumrah's coming on. He's only taken the 1 wicket so far, unfortunately. If you look at the scoreboard itself, you've got Sharmy's he's taken 4 for 95. No, Sharmy certainly hasn't bowled badly. Bumrah hasn't had much luck with his 158. Siraj's got 2 for 86, bowled well. Even Ravi Jadeja got 2 for 88. But it's Sharma, none for 92 that really is a concern. So Ollie Robinson having faced some 13, 14 deliveries without scoring a run. Yeah, okay. Tim Southey has signed for RPL. Tim Southey has signed in the IPL, and it's clearly a plan to accommodate the conditions for the last series over this year. Maybe. The reality is that Pat Cummins is not playing there, which he's obviously saving himself the World Cup. I'm playing the piano here Sunday. That's all right. That's all right. It's okay, Sunday. You're all right. Munchie, who will win the series? Sumanth Shastri. I think you'll find he'll say England, and probably possibly 3-1. Well, I think Liam Livingston nowadays, think of those low blokes in Jordan that he pressure them. Okay, England will win. Thank you, Sunday. I'm sticking to my pre-season series select prediction of 2-1. Well, yeah, there could be a 1-1 after this. It'll bring you back into play, won't it? I've no doubt the top class, but he has. Anyway, that's true. That's true. What score do you expect from India by the end of today's play? Gurkharat Singh Gill has said 5 for 250. I'm hoping India are none for 250, and I'd love to see Rohit Sharma get 100 and Kohli get No, Rohit Sharma and Rahul get both hundreds and be not out 120. That's what I would like to see, quite frankly. And here we've got some people viewing now. So yeah, that's a dismissal there of. It looks as though we've got the wicket there of Jasprit Bumrah. Looks very unimpressed with that. England are now all out for 432 with a heave-ho from Robinson, and Jasprit Bumrah's picked up his second wicket of the innings. With Shami taking 4, Siraj taking 2, and Jadeja taking 2. They are all out for 432. They are effectively now 300. England lead by 354. So effectively, England are 354 in front. India go in there, none for minus 354. So we've got to see a triple century opening partnership, and we'll start to wear that down. So yeah, Buckle, that's right, lead by 354. Norman, I'm none for 250. I'm being positive. They'll win, okay, but none for 250. Also, you're saying be honest, be none for 250. Well, I mean, let's hope big. I mean, there's no reason why these two openers can't get some runs. I mean, after the England batting lineup, Burns 61, Hamid 68, Malan 70, Root 121. That's pretty impressive top 4. So if India repeated that, and Rohit Sharma got 61 and Rahul got 68, and then Dawid Malan, who would in fact be inserted, Pujara gets 70 and Root gets, which is the colleagues 121, we'll be very happy, won't we? We'll be extremely happy. Of course we will. Let's hope that's the case. So at this stage of the match, India now will be going into bat with two openers, as in the likes of Rahul. Rahul, don't forget, has done very well in both the first 2 tests. Rohit Sharma, including the first innings of this particular match where he was 19, despite getting out to a bad shot, he's also played particularly well. Rohit Sharma is the second highest run scorer for the year for any team. It's only, obviously, Root is ahead of him. So realistically, we're looking at a situation where these two openers can certainly get the job done. They can start very well, and that will put India will be in good stead for a good start. Then it's up to the next 3, Pujara, Kohli, and Rahane, to pull their fingers out and start to bat well. But I think I've got a lot of confidence in these openers. Full marks to Indian bowlers, but great opportunity for anyone out for 2 years or so to bat long. Exactly. Free-minded, not think about win or lose or draw, just go out and bat normally, and think about the conditions which are definitely in favour of the batsman. Bit overcast this morning. It would be a little bit going on in the early stages. In fact, it could be detrimental that England got out so early, being only a few overs. But yeah, I'd say we're looking at a situation where we've only had 10, 15 minutes worth of play. Yeah, this next hour, this first session, the opener should be playing to last, to stay there, to be there for a long performance and really show some fight, show some real fight. That's what I would like to see. So we are in a pretty good situation. So we want to see Pujara batting for 3. That would be fantastic. Lights on, clouds in the sky. The ball should be swinging all over, and the swinger in chief has the new ball. Are you talking about Clouderson? Munchie, you're talking about Cloud? Come on, Munchie, get on the show. Get on the show. I want you on the show. I'm demanding on the show. We've got people watching. I want you on the show. I mean, I'm not going to take any excuses. Munchie, get on the show. You cannot. You've sent me a wisdom link, and I want you to come on the show, Munchie. Can you make it? We're going to get Munchie on the show. Just got to get a hold of the. I think that's the right link. So, Munchie, I'm sending it to you now. Get on the show, Munchie. So, Manish Kumar is saying, who are you? My name is Norman Kochnick, and I have a show called Eyes on Cricket, Norman Kochnick. I have a number of guests, including those from the England camp. We have David Graveney, we have Jimmy Maxwell as a commentator, Monty Panesar, a whole range of great hosts. So you come and watch me. Munchie, this is a great appreciation for Anderson. We need heroics like Eden Gardens, Kolkata. Yes, we do. We need some Indian defiance with their batting. They've got to bloody well pull their finger out. Much you're saying about Anderson, yeah. We need heroics, like exactly. Well, Munchie's gonna. Oh, I want to come and talk about Anderson because he's saying Anderson's. I know Clouderson, as I call him. There's an issue there, and I think Munchie's going to come on. Munchie, we're going to break here. It's time to come on. We've got viewers here that I want to hear you carry on because you've got a bit of confidence about you, which I'm not sure is warranted. Okay, we need a. Do you think? Okay.
Hi guys.
You're
Good morning,
on.
everyone. We've got a few minutes before the next test before the meeting starts, and I should really be cracking on with work. So you get a challenge.
Actually, is this your company, Munchie? Is this your company?
I don't believe what Richard tells you. Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
It's not a 400-acre estate or a 400 million or 400 billion empire, but yeah, I'm just fortunate to be working at the moment, working from home, so I can multitask at times. But we've got a few minutes in between the innings just to come back and answer some of the queries and the comments that you were making earlier. But yes, yeah, when they sky flick from the overhead, you could clearly see the lights on at Headingley. The clouds were not as high as they were yesterday; slightly lower. That's Headingley swinging conditions, and you've got the best swing bowler of all time with the ball. It's going to be interesting.
God.
The wicket is still flat, so if the batsman can play the line of the ball, great. So it's not going to be fizzing as much as it did on the first day, but that ball is going to be swinging. It should be swinging rather.
Okay, so what you're effectively saying, if India can survive the first hour to 2 hours play, they could see a benefit in that longer term for
Definitely, yeah. Yeah,
well,
we've seen before. Sorry, short. No, we've seen before in England that when the lights come on, that ball does move. Yeah, and I'm looking now, and those clouds are greyish. It's yeah, that's yeah. This is ideal. And even David Gravely said a couple of days ago at Headingley, you definitely look up. You know, when the sun's shining, you bat all day. It's a great. When that cloud comes over, you've got to be careful.
Look, I think KL Rahul in this innings will be slightly more circumspect. He won't be thrashing outside off stump because he was in great confidence leading into the match. I think he'll play a lot more let the ball go line of attack with Rohit. And if they both do that, and these two guys survive the first hour to 2 hours play, that could at least allow India to see the potential batting into tomorrow and getting, well, they won't get a victory out of this match, but they may well knock off a lot more of those 354 runs they've got to chase with a very good opening stand. So, I'm hopeful of that. People saying they think I'll do all that today.
The Indian batsmen are quality. You've got to look at their records. You look at their statistics. They're not there just for the sake of making up numbers. They are quality batsmen. The concern that I've got is, and we stated this before the series, that when the ball is moving, and Anderson, he doesn't bowl great big looping swing balls. That ball's coming straight. And as a batsman, if that ball's coming straight to you at the off stump or just outside the off stump, you're playing the line of the ball, and then it just moves late. And that's where Anderson is so good. And of course, by then, even Anderson bowling at 85 miles an hour, it's too late. Yes, it's not like a 90-mile-an-hour rocket, but that ball just moves, and it's only got to move an inch or so to get the edge. And that's the difference, and that's why Anderson is so great at what he does. I mean, Shami bowled some absolute jaffers as well to the left-handers as well. Similar thing coming through on that off stump to the left-hander and just moved away at the last minute. Covers are on. Interesting.
Covers are on.
Yeah.
That's not good, is it? Is that more cautionary or?
I don't know. I think it may just be a light drizzle in the air. It's a sort of.
Well, there was a light drizzle before the start of the match, wasn't there?
Yeah, it's the sort of thing. Is if you're out there and you get a light drizzle, providing the light's not too bad, you play on, but you won't actually start in that. So we'll see what happens. But no, that was just my point about Anderson. The Indian batsmen are very capable. We know that. We've seen what they can do, and perhaps what happened on the first day was an aberration. But still, given the conditions at Headingley, swinging ball, Robinson, Anderson, they're quality technicians with that ball, especially Anderson. And we've discussed before, and Sid, you posted a great article that Sid put together about Anderson being the greatest of all time, and that's my concern. Now, what is in Indians' favour is that the wicket has dried out. It is not as moist or as tacky as it was in the first day, so they should have the technique to deal with it. Whether they do is another matter. That's what's going to make it even more interesting. You've got scoreboard pressure, flat deck, new ball, overhead conditions. That's what's great about Test cricket.
I don't know whether scoreboard pressure will be important Why? Because I don't think India seriously think they've got any hope of winning. So they're going
It's
to
not
think,
winning. It's
well,
survival. It's survival, and you've got 3 days.
But if you okay, they're going to go about it differently. I don't think it's going to be about batting for survival, because they will have no hope of surviving the 3 days. But batting naturally, to bat freely and be normal about their batting with a certain amount of concern about outside off stump, that could sit in good stead. Really, I don't think it's a good thing, because if it had, the pressure on there with expectation to win, actually causes more concern. This is so clearly against India that they can't really be worried about it. That's my thoughts.
And
do you get my point?
Well, yeah, I do. And the comment you said about India playing freely and playing their normal game, for some of the Indian batsmen, that's the problem in English conditions. We said this before the series, and we said this actually at the end of the year. The England series in India is when you come to England and you have the moving ball, your naturally aggressive game has got to be reined in. We look at Rishabh Pant being a classic in India. He was brilliant, great fun. But over here, because that ball's moving around, he's playing reckless shots outside the off stump. The batsman that has impressed me a lot has been Rohit Sharma. He is, generally in India, a very attacking batsman, and he's really reined himself in. But you've got to be able to control yourselves.
Well, I don't mean the natural game. I mean, they both Rohit Sharma and Rahul know exactly how to bat in England conditions. They've done it for the last 2 tests. One of them had a bad start to the 3rd test, but effectively they know what they're doing. And I think the opening partnership here is absolutely crucial.
Of course.
Because if they can keep 3, 4, 4, and 5 away from this pitch for as long as possible until the weather perhaps turns better into a nicer day, you could see it being a major benefit to India. And I think that's really where it comes. And I think Rahul will be not chasing the same ball again.
But as I said earlier, it's very difficult, because if Anderson's bowling on that line that's coming into your off stump, you've got to defend that ball. And then once that ball's pitched and that just moves 1.5 inches, that's it. It's going to take the take the outside edge. Sorry. That's what makes it so tricky. Covers are coming off. Yep. Going to get some place. Yep. So it's going to be very interesting.
Comes off so quickly. Isn't it amazing?
Well, that's it, because obviously in England we have the covers on the wheels, or we have some of the covers that they have the almost like the hovercraft underneath them, so it's blowing air. And actually they're very good because it stops a lot of moisture forming underneath the covers, as opposed to, say, a static one. So it'll be interesting to see if there's been a bit of rain on the wicket. Sometimes that just spices it up a little bit. Obviously, it's not been a huge amount, but will be interesting to see. I think somebody posted a comment earlier about why does the weather always favour England? There we go, Parwan. Sorry, why do conditions always support England? I have no idea. Yeah, I could say the same.
There's some witch doctor or some rain god that's running around London.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure.
I could always say the same for when in England or in India. Why is it always 40 degrees and 90% humidity? But, yeah. It's the temperate climate that we have here. It's a lottery. Yeah. I know it feels like that.
Because it has favoured them. They're coming back on. I love these little group hugs, very much rugby style, that they're all doing now, the cricket teams. They never used to do that. Maybe they did it in the dressing room before, but now they're doing it very publicly, aren't they?
I know. When you get into these huddles, and I look at them, and the commentators, the captain's really, he's talking to the players, he's geeing them up. Well, the number of times they must do these huddles, I'm sure what they're saying to each other is, okay, what are we doing for dinner tonight? Chinese, Indian, or are we going down the Italian down the road? Because sometimes when you talk to professionals, actually might be a good question for Dave Graveney, Monty, etc., is when the batsmen are talking, and I've heard the stories as well, is they're generally between overs or in the slips. They're not talking about the game. They're talking about, have you seen so-and-so in the crowd, or what are we doing tonight? And you think these pros are concentrating on the game, and it's far from it. Yeah.
No, well, that's what we used to when we played cricket. We ended up having a natter about something else. I mean, I was a big sledger. I was often at the batsman something horrible. I would say, that's a nice new bat. Where did you get that from? There's no red cherries on it yet. Complete guff, and I just keep talking. I'd say, didn't I see you? I used to say to the batsman, didn't I see you last week at Woolworths? Didn't you buy that new stove? And then they think to themselves, I wasn't at Woolworths last week with the stove, and their mind goes a mile away from the next delivery. So you talk about absolute crap. I think that's a great thing. Or say, didn't you once date my sister, or something ridiculous that they're completely not able to comprehend? No, not necessarily sledging them. Just say something really basic like,
Yeah.
I thought you were younger, or I thought you know something. Get the
Well,
mind off the game.
I could tell you a story actually for true. Just a comment there. Tim's posted about England should do the haka. I think somebody has actually commented before, but England should do a Morris dance. It's probably more appropriate for England. But actually, our team were playing HSBC in South London league game, and on the way up there, because where we were driving from Kent, it's very quick to get to the edge of London, and then a long time to drive through London. And we were just chatting in the cars and things, and someone came up with the idea: is okay, so when we're geeing each other up, you've got to try to get the name of a song into come on guys, rather than just come on guys, you had to try and get a song in. And eventually people were getting into the spirit of it. And of course, the batsmen soon figured it out. And the same thing, they then forgot to bat and laughing about what we were saying. And we picked up the wickets. There was no insults, nothing like that, just a bit of fun. And it worked a treat.
Or even a joke between players that's funny.
Yeah. But talking about the chatting in the slips, Graham Swan came up with a great story about Andrew Strauss's late wife. And it was, I can't remember which stadium they were at, but Strauss kept pointing to this woman in the stands. He said, "Look at that woman up there. God, she's gorgeous. Look at her. She's gorgeous." Yeah. And Swanee turned around, Straussy, it's your wife. We know. Yeah. And it's just silly things like that.
I like that. But I used to talk to the batsmen. When I was keeping, I would constantly be talking, saying, "Where did you get that bat from? I've never seen that bat. Is that a new model?" And then their concentration goes to the bat, or make them think something which they've got to think about. When did you last visit Kent? Or something that they've got to have a think about, which gets their mind totally off what they're doing. So here we go. James Anderson, first over is crucial.
Right. So I really must shoot off now. Norm. Just a couple of things. I was just very interested with the pant thing because there was a lot of debate. Yeah. I didn't pick up on it. The fact that he caught on the ball illegally with the gloves taped. So should Milan have then been recalled because the umpires then asked for the tape to be removed? It's just an interesting thing, and someone actually picked up on it when I was looking some investigation. This is something that Dhoni used to do. So I don't know whether it's a relatively new rule or not, but I thought it was quite interesting. But I wish everyone a great day's cricket. We know what's going to happen now. England will do their best. They'll crowd the bat later on with Mo and Ali, but we'll see what Jimmy can do. I'm just having a look. That ball is moving.
But see, Sharma is playing down the line of the ball, not playing when the ball's moving, which is actually a good technique.
Yeah, you got to play the ball late. You really have to play the ball late. Tim, I don't know, but I wanted to, as an idea, was to let Overton and Robinson go and bat this morning, because Tim's asking about why Joe Root didn't declare overnight. Is if you take what Kohli did at Lords, where he kind of threw out the England team unexpectedly with that declaration. Now, I would have let Robinson and Overton bat, let Jimmy come in. I actually don't know if it's in the laws. I need to find out whether it's possible. And when Jimmy is halfway to the stumps or Jimmy is taking guard, then declare. So you really then put the Indian openers on the back foot. I know Jimmy's going to rush back in and get changed, but then the Indian openers, from thinking, "Oh, we've got to bat now with what's going to happen with Anderson," suddenly they've got 10 minutes. "Oh, great, shit, we've got to get ready," which is what Kohli did to the England team at Lords. Well, that's just my idea.
But it almost happened anyway, really. It was equally as short. It was 15 minutes, which is quite disturbing. It's very annoying for a batsman to have to go back out and then go back in again. You're right. Yeah. So Rowett's just hit the ball through slip. And so he's got. He hasn't got 4. Great effort there.
Yeah. Anyway, if enjoy the game, everyone. I shall put the radio on, just listen as well while we're cracking on. So great show again this morning, Norman. Wish everyone a great day and catch you soon. Thanks,
Munchie. Thanks for coming on. So, why didn't Joe Root declare last night? That was explained quite well there by Munchie, Tim. So, it's very similar to what the likes of Kohli did, exactly the same thing. So, very, very impressive. Just joints the opening batsman. They've gone out to field, have to go back off and bat. You haven't got time. If you start the day with the batter, they know they're going to put their pads on. They can relax. They can have a few hits. They're ready to go. They're walking on the pitch. But if they've got to go out the field, then they go back and bat, put pads on quickly and go back out. That 10 minutes is not very long when it comes to getting ready to bat, I'll tell you, for anyone. All right, guys. So as far as I'm concerned, we've had a great session here today. And I'm just having a look at the breakup. We've got we've got a fair crowd of people that have watched. So KL Rahul has played 39 test matches now with 2,250 runs, an average of 35.71, which is by no means good. 12 50s and 600s is not bad. And he's about to face Robinson, who certainly wasn't as effective as perhaps Clouderson or Anderson was initially. Yeah, the letting balls go and letting balls go deliberately, and I'm very impressed with that. Pujara and Ashwin having a bit of a chat there. Ashwin a little more prominent around the players. Perhaps it's giving us a little hint. Maybe he might be in the next test. Maybe there's a bit of a hint going on there. We just don't know, do we? All right. Because they're certainly more friendly to the batsman. There seems to be a bit more control going on, which is obviously a good sign. I'm trying to pull up the article that was with Rishabh Pant. That was an interesting one. So, yeah, Jimmy Maxwell's just messaged me saying he missed it. He said, enjoying the sea. What coming another time? I'll send David that next time a little bit earlier, perhaps. So, it is interesting about punt and what happened there. I'm very curious about that. We're now watching Robinson coming into bowl, and Sharma's very, very dutifully letting the ball go. Ollie Pope plays a Butler Karan. I don't think so. I don't think it's necessarily anything that just trying to get up this. I'll watch a couple overs, guys, then we'll go. Will you post a match stream tonight? Yes, there'll definitely be a post-match stream tonight. Absolutely. I'm gonna just go about organising that now. I'm just putting up the post about punt. We're just going to see whether, in fact, it's interesting to see what actually happened there. I don't know. Add to photos. There we go. So there was a hint of controversy. A hint of controversy. Hint of controversy is not a controversy, is it? So, I mean, if there is something, it doesn't look like it's being brought up with any attention. So there's no issue there. So at the moment, Rahul and Sharma look very competent. And Rahul's letting the ball go now, not trying to drive. I'm impressed. I'm suitably impressed here. Just posting some stuff, guys. Give me just 2 seconds. We'll just see how far this goes. Yeah, that looks like it's it. Okay, so very interesting. This little discussion here. I'm going to post that. So yeah, Anderson's bowling well, but that ball jagged away quite noticeably. But it was well and truly away from the bat. So Rahul looks good at the moment. Yes, he does. Aaron shouldn't jinx him though. That ball jagged quite a bit, but it's just a matter of playing and letting it go. Don't play balls you don't have to. Very simple rule. Very, very simple rule. Okay. So at the moment, number 4, they're trailing by 350. So I'll let one more over Anderson, then I'll say goodbye to you guys. There's movement. There's a lot of movement happening on this wicket. A lot of movement, although it's pronounced. So there's enough time for the players to get out of the way of it, which is good. It does seem that India are applying themselves better with the bat at the moment. It's an impressive effort by India if they can survive this. So, all right, guys, we're watching the end of this. So we've got 3 balls left, and I'm cutting off for this period, and we'll come back post-match. Jimmy Maxwell, Bori Majunda's book, David Hooks. Well, he did play that, but he played soft hands. That's Sharma played it soft hands, and I went straight through to lots of comments, guys, which I'm always impressed about. There's no doubt that Rohit Sharma and Rahul can do very well. They can actually bat with great application of bat through the whole morning and gradually ink out a gradual lead of 100, 150, and then make it at least respectable. Sharma's playing the ball well. The ball coming on the bat, soft hands, not carrying. There's a lot of good bowling happening here, but at the same time, these 2 openers have really proven themselves this series, I must say. All right, so that's 350. So, guys, we'll do a post-match tonight. That's right. I'll do a post-match review after the match at 3 p.m. Australian time, 6:30 England time, and 6:30 England time, and around 10:30, 11 p.m. Indian time. So, while you're here, guys, please make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel, hit the notification button, go to my Twitter and Instagram, and also my LinkedIn and Facebook. So, all of us guys will talk to each other tonight. All the best.